Hi, I'm Silva.
And I'm Angela Rogers, and welcome to Harder Than We Thought.
We're two best friends that banter like sisters. We share our unique perspectives on life, careers, and everything in between.
This podcast is informative, entertaining, and downright hilarious.
We're the best friend duo you never knew you needed. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to today's episode. Today's episode is very special because we have a guest, our very, very first guest.
Our very first guest. We're super excited.
Very, very first guest. We
Honored.
have an Emmy award-winning television host, entrepreneur, mom of one, at the cutest son ever. I have Adrienne Bailon in the house.
Hey,
Hueva,
Adrienne
hueva.
Bailon.
Oh, yeah, that's right. She's been married for quite some time, since 2016, right?
7 years. Can you believe that?
Yeah,
I feel like it's flown by.
2016 feels like it was just yesterday to me. It was like
Same.
it was right
I know.
around
It
the
does not seem
corner.
like it was that long
Same.
ago.
It feels like it's gone by super fast, but I'm like, dang, 7 years of marriage.
And making it through COVID together.
Praise
making
the
it through
Lord.
quarantine. That's like a
Making
whole
it
other
through,
thing.
I mean, no, real quick, was that difficult? Because I feel like you work so much, you travel a lot. To be in the same household, especially when you're in this industry.
And he travels a lot. Like he has a busy
Exactly.
schedule.
Yeah.
So now you guys are both
In
like
the same
not doing what you
household.
normally do.
Mhm.
And you're just there. You and him.
It
and then
was
your family.
the greatest time of our entire life.
Was
I
it?
hated what it was doing for the world, but for us as a family, it was the best time ever. We literally I had just moved into my home in Calabasas. I had a pool for the first time in my life.
Aw.
It was summertime. We were on vacation. Crazy enough, my family drove in an RV from New York cross country,
Oh, wow.
and it was 11 of us living in the house together. When do
Oh
you
my
ever get a chance to
God.
live with your parents and your siblings and their spouse and their kids and all of us together? It was freaking amazing.
And you would like it. That's really
Yeah,
one
and
of
the
I
fact
don't
that
know.
she likes
loved
it.
That's my
it.
sister's dream for us all to live. She's like, there can be a West Wing and an East Wing.
Yes.
I'm like, I'm not down for that. But the fact that
Really?
you loved it is great.
Oh, I loved it. But my sister's literally like my best friend in the whole world.
Yeah.
My husband and her husband are bestie. Like they
Oh,
have a
wow, that's really
bromance.
great.
And so it was really special.
You're very close to your family, so that
Very,
makes sense. Yeah,
very.
you know what? I'm close to my family too, but I think, I don't
I
know.
am
We
too,
went
but-
from a 3-week COVID to a 2-year thing. And I don't know,
Yeah.
after a while, I think I would lose my mind.
You are busybody though. Like you
Yeah.
are very social. You like to go out and do things. I don't think the world would view me as an introvert.
I would never view you as an introvert.
I
never.
am such an introvert.
You are social. You're outgoing.
I have social anxiety. The first time we ever met in person, Sai, was at
At an
that-
elevator.
Yes, at Revolve.
Yes.
Fashion Week. And I'm not gonna lie, I was like, I don't know if she'll know me. I don't know. Like
She was so
I'm
cute.
so weird.
Wait, she's so cute. First of all, we met through a mutual friend, but we've actually never met in person.
Yeah,
Right? We were
through
introduced through
social
a friend,
media.
our friend Amber, and then social media and
Yeah.
everything like that. So that's how we kind of were introduced to one another. But we actually met in person on an elevator, and she's like, I don't know if you know me. I was like, bitch, I know you.
but I have social anxiety.
Everyone knows you. You've been in the business for so long. Like, even before Cheetah Girls and it was 3LW. I
Yeah.
mean, this was, you know what I mean? Like, who doesn't
I know you from my 3LW days with A-Marie.
Yes, I
yeah.
remember those days.
such a
Such a long
small-
time.
Such a long time. I feel like I've lived multiple lives within my one life.
Different chapters, right?
Yes.
Everything
And
is
that's
a
so
different
important, though,
chapter.
but you've managed to, like, always keep reinventing yourself, you know? Like,
Thank
being an
you.
artist,
You have.
being an artist. Now you're, getting into fashion and you have your own jewelry line, your own clothes line, your own
Talk
mom.
show.
Talk
And now
yes.
you're co-hosting Miss USA pageant. Like, I want to know
Yes.
everything about this. How did this happen?
It's actually insane. I used to like watch these shows growing up and I would be like obsessed, like, oh my God, always voting for Miss New York. I'd be like,
Yes.
Miss New York gotta come through. So I was honored that literally they called me. They're like, we'd love for you to host. And I was like,
That's big.
I'm there. Get me
That's
on a plane.
amazing.
So I'll be going to Reno. And it's so funny because I was telling you, I'm like, I've been on this fitness and health journey. And knowing that I was going to like be in these multiple gowns, I think just gave me that extra boost to like train like I was damn competing, okay?
She looks amazing. by
Thank
the way.
you.
Yeah, you look really good.
great.
You're
Trying,
glowing.
man.
Like when you get that like workout glow, and then like your angles are all hitting from the right. You know what I mean? It's just
Yes.
very.
Her face is looking all defined. I'm
Yes.
like, okay, what's going on? She
And your
walked in. I
abs.
was like, ooh, flaca.
Thank you.
okay.
You have your Labuke sports bra and boxers on with the little bit of midriff showing.
You know, just a peekaboo.
She's
Yes.
the cutest cutie patootie. Okay,
Thank
and then
you.
how is you're now on E! News, which is fantastic.
Yes.
How's that going?
It has been amazing. Justin Sylvester is my co-host, and
I love
he's
him.
so much fun. I never feel like it's work. I joke that we need a show that is behind the show because that's where the wild entertainment is. But it's just been great. I feel like most of the time I read my script and I find out what's going on in the world. I'm like, word,
how does
Taylor
that
Swift
work?
and homeboy.
Like, do you
She just found
get
out about that today.
what?
Taylor Swift and the football player.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
The fact that we are
I
calling
found it on
him
TikTok. Okay,
You're right. You're
the
right. That was
football
the
player
makeup
is
artist.
cracking me
I
up.
know. He has no identity anymore.
What
His
is that?
identity is now Taylor
I had to
Swift's
tell her,
identity.
show her like who he used to date, and I was like, well, this is him, and then this is now him, and that it's just
Apparently,
hilarious.
this
It's
girl
quite
is not
controversial.
his type.
No.
Taylor's not his type at all. But I mean,
We shall see.
we shall see what's
We
going to
shall
happen.
see.
Look, I can't judge anyone. They're both cute together. I think they're really
I
cute.
think they're a little odd together, but I think a lot of men, athletes specifically, unfortunately, they're groupies. So they like to gear towards like artists and celebrities. Like a lot of times athletes just love dating like a singer or a female rapper. Like they just want to be in that world.
They want to be in the mix.
And yeah, because that seems real random. You dated someone for so long that was a certain type and you have a certain look and he has a certain
His persona
vibe,
is
and
a
then
very
this is who
like.
you, Taylor Swift. Nothing against Taylor Swift, but like the Jake Gyllenhaal Taylor Swift made sense to me. This is, I
Maybe
just think it's
Taylor's a
weird.
freak on the low.
She could
Maybe
be, but
she
again,
I
twerks.
mean, did we ever see the performance where she played on the piano at the Grammys and they compared it to the pool sex scene of, oh my God, what was the movie? Showgirls?
No
No.
way.
You've never seen that meme?
way. No way.
Oh my God, it's hysterical.
What was
It-
she? Was she like moving her head around and stuff?
Yes, she's on the
wait,
piano. like,
the VMAs that just happened.
no, this was the Grammys. I think 2016. Funny enough, around there.
I didn't see that.
You gotta see
But
it.
you got to see the VMA memes that just went around too. Like I guess
Oh,
she
for
had a lot to
dancing?
drink.
Oh, she was.
And like Lil Wayne came on stage and she was
was
like
turned
feeling
up.
herself.
Okay.
and
she was
rubbing
turned up.
herself.
It was the
and
turn up. All right.
It was like Elaine off of Seinfeld though. The dancing was weird.
It wasn't that bad. I think she's being really bad. You're not a Swiftie, huh?
I am a Swiftie. I love Taylor Swift.
I do like her a lot. I'm not a
I
Swiftie,
just think
but I
that,
do like her
again,
a lot.
I liked her and Jake. I like
I
her and
feel
Aaron
like-
Rodgers.
I love Taylor Swift at any award show because she is having a good time. They pan to her and baby, she's at a concert. She's not at an award show. She is twerking. She's singing
having a good-
along.
yeah.
Did you see her when Bad Bunny was performing?
I did.
She
I
was
did
like,
see that.
wepa, wepa, wepa. She was giving them
I
an
didn't see that. I
vibe.
get it. I mean, I liked her. I'm actually a Taylor Swift fan. I'm just saying this was a weird one
She's
for me.
probably just a freak. Speaking of freak, I mean, how's it going in your home?
It is going phenomenally. I'm turning 40
Welcome to the 40s
Yes,
Club.
welcome.
in a few weeks.
Oh, what are we doing for your birthday? We gotta
I
turn
am
up.
okay. So I didn't want to do anything crazy. I am frugal, Fran, and the idea of throwing like
You are.
elaborate parties like that and wasting a bunch of money sounds stupid to me. So I don't want to do that. Instead, my husband's on tour right now, so I'm flying out with baby to see him. And then for the first time ever, I'm actually going to do a solo vacation after we celebrate my birthday.
Okay, that's great. But
That's
we were
good.
talking about, transitioning into speaking of freak, and then you said your husband's on tour.
Yeah.
And that doesn't correlate.
It doesn't correlate
He's
to
a Christian singer.
He is on tour with Kirk Franklin.
We want to talk about Christian sex is what we're trying to get to.
I'm here for it
I
because,
mean-
baby, we be having sex. And let me tell you, it is ordained and anointed by the Lord Jesus Christ himself, okay?
guilt-free.
Guilt-free sex, okay?
That is how you get down.
Do what you want, how you want. This was intended.
So there is this preconceived notion that Christian sex could just
He's not really could be
Freaky.
boring.
could be boring.
Like womp womp. Like foreplay. Like what is going on? It's basically like kiss me, peck peck.
No.
And then missionary, let's
And
get and we're done.
I
That's what
actually
it
think that
seems
that
like.
is the biggest misconception because there are songs that Beyonce has put out, like Church Girl. And
It's true.
there's also been this, I think mainly for girls, we've always thought that like the quiet church girls are going to be the freakiest.
Mhm.
I do believe that to be true, even though I've never been quiet in my
I
life.
believe that church girls are freaks.
But no one ever considers church men.
They'd seem boring.
No, I actually think they the worst.
have you dated a church guy?
No, because I'm not. I don't feel like they're like.
She not trying to
Giving
have the
me-
Holy Spirit in her bed.
In the bedroom?
She don't want to speak in tongues in the
No.
bedroom.
Wait.
But I'm
What's
telling
wrong with
you,
Adrienne?
I'm trying to tell you, Christian sex, y'all be underestimating these men. There
What are
is
some Christian sex moves?
Yeah,
Like,
okay. I wouldn't
Other
say
than
it's
feeling
Christian
like
sex.
guilt-free. Well, you are married, so.
Yes. But I think that people don't consider the fact that sex can also be very spiritual.
Yeah, okay.
Like there is some kind of borderline there of like, yes, Lord.
I feel it.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I feel it in my toes.
Yes.
Okay.
There's an electricity.
Uh-huh.
But I feel like church men specifically, there's a certain charisma and a swag that they have that I think people don't recognize in the mainstream. Like I think there's a lot of people, even obviously when like Megan Good was dating Devon Franklin, there was questions of like, how did he bag her or those kinds. I don't think people recognize that like, if you can stand up and hold an entire congregation to sing along, and there is a certain charisma that these people hold, and
that carries into the bedroom?
It 100% does. It 100 from what like he can say to you to like
this is the Lord's way. Like what is he saying to you? Like
I'm gonna take it this way.
This is good all the
And you
time.
will praise
all
me.
the time.
But this is the
Praise
thing.
be.
I think it's wild for me, and maybe this is just like a freaky thing about me. I find it interesting that everyone views my husband in this one sort of way, and yet I know him a completely different way.
But let me ask you
and
this.
that to me is a big turn on.
Did he put you onto some things in the bedroom, or you put him onto some things, or did you guys come
Both.
together and you were like, wait a minute?
That's a
Both.
great question.
Both. I've never been like a big fan of oral. A lot of times I thought this was like so pointless. And like, you know, when you're younger, you're like, let me act like this is doing something. I'm gonna be Taylor Swift at the piano. That's me throwing my head back, okay?
The visual on that?
Yeah,
Adrienne?
We've got to give you guys the visual on this one.
But I think there's something about older experienced, but not just that, but like also, I don't think he has anything to prove outwardly. So he actually is bomb. Like
he's pleasing. He pleases.
Yeah, but it's not just about like I think mainstream men versus Christian men. Wow, that sounds crazy.
That does sound crazy because I've never heard of this ever.
Right?
Ever.
You would think like I think they feel like even in their songs like there's certain things they have to say that like they do that there is none of that. This is like real life.
I don't know
just
if it would make me feel like you're married and Sai's married as well. So I don't know if it's like in the bedroom you're a little bit more like, I mean, you could think about the Lord or not, but I don't know if I want the Lord's presence so much in the bedroom and I'm not married. It may make me, sorry, God. You didn't see that?
Sorry about that.
The angels watching over me now? Like, I don't know.
Obviously, you're not thinking in that way.
About God in the moment.
No.
But I think there's something really dope about, and again, this is just my personal like freaky. I'm like, yo, this man be praising God, and there's people that are even moved by him praising God, and yet I get to see him in this. Did you very meet him? Raunchy,
you should
nasty,
see her face right
way.
now. She's first of all, she's blushing.
Because she's thinking about sex this morning.
I think she might leave this session. Oh yeah, you're right.
They had a session over the phone.
I see him on Sunday. Hallelujah. That's funny. I am going to see him on Sunday.
But it's funny.
God's Day.
God's Day.
You I got the sense from what you used to post like on socials that you know you like spirituality was very important to you, but not in the sense that I could see you marrying a gospel singer. Yeah, you know what I mean? Or
a lot of people felt that way.
Yeah, because you know we've known each other for years as well,
and you've also known other people I've dated.
Yeah, and I was like, okay,
different vibes.
Were you surprised too? Were you kind of like when you met him, like I don't know, he's in the church. I mean, he's not in the church; he's just a gospel singer. But
right,
it's a close affiliation.
Yeah, I mean, when I met him, he was Joel Osteen's worship pastor for over 15 years.
He is a pastor.
Wow.
I didn't know that. Okay.
So. I mean, well, like a worship pastor is like the worship leader.
Oh, okay.
Like, you know, the singer of the church. When I met him, it's so weird because I had like a reverence for him. I actually really was moved by him, by his singing and his songs. Like I was a fan in that sense. Like I was like, damn, he's dope. Like this is amazing.
These panties wet with this song over here.
And funny enough, I actually had his song as my alarm song on my phone for years before we even dated.
Like some manifesting.
And I walked down the aisle to that song, but it's a song that makes no sense for walking down the aisle.
Oh my God. It's
really
obsessive.
It's a song called Hosanna. And I literally had it on my phone, but I never would have thought that I would have ended up with him because we just seemed worlds apart. The day I met him, I went to a Wale birthday party in the evening. Like it was
He was there?
No, I met him at church.
You're like, wait a minute.
Do you know CCC in Brooklyn, Christian Cultural Center? It's A.R.
No.
Bernard's church. That's where I met
heard
him.
of it.
So I met him there, and then in the evening, I had to leave. We were promoting a film that he produced that I was in, and then I ended up leaving there and going to a Wale birthday party.
To a rapper's birthday party. Okay.
Our
She's living a
worlds-
double life.
I was sitting with Fab, and it
She's
was
living
a whole,
2 different lifestyles.
2 different lives. So I could never see us coming together, and then we did.
And now
Wow.
it's happily ever after.
Literally, that's why I named my son Ever.
Speaking of your son, which I kind of wanted to get
That was my
into.
hashtag for my wedding.
Oh,
Isn't that lame though? Is that not a millennial thing to name your kid after the hashtag of your wedding?
think it's kind of
I like
sweet.
I didn't know that was the
Hashtag
meaning
happily-
behind his name.
Hashtag happily ever Houghton.
that's really
And
sweet.
I was like, he's my happily ever.
Oh,
Yeah.
and because this journey for you into
Oof.
motherhood has been a long one.
Yeah.
So-
Well, has it been a long one? Because clearly you've been a singer. You were into acting.
Mhm.
You're hosting. You're still doing acting. You're still doing a lot of different
Fashion
hosting
designer
too.
now.
Yes, now you have your purse line, your clothes line, Lavoot, that does all things. But did you say that you wanted to kind of get into your career and do all that first, and then later worry about kids, or was it an intentional decision you made, or just kind of that's the way things went, and you were just going to wait to have kids?
I think I was intentional about it. I just didn't think it would take this long. I didn't know what the journey of my career was going to be. To be honest, how I even got into the industry is absolutely bizarre. I was growing up, just loved singing in church. I wanted to be a singer. I was obsessed with soap operas, so random.
Telemundo?
Yeah, I would novelas, all of that. I wanted to be an actress in that sense. And I ended up going to a school that prepares you to audition for Juilliard and LaGuardia. But then I found out that it costs money to do headshots and record a demo singing. And I was like, yeah, we don't got that money, so maybe I'll just go to the high school that my sister goes to. And it was a medical high school called Health Professions and Human Services. And they had us do internships at Beth Israel. And a random dude walked in and was like, yo, Ma, you sing? I know a lot of you girls are interning from the high school. And that was my audition for 3LW. And that was at 15 years old.
Crazy.
I didn't know how you become famous. I didn't know anyone famous. I didn't know how you audition for things. I didn't know how you got into the box of the television. No clue. Okay? So just how that went, the fact that that was April, and by August, Tommy Mottola signed me my first record deal at Epic.
Wow.
And then later that following, December, our first album with 3LW came out. So
Which
I
was huge.
had no idea, so no pre-plans of this is how I have my life mapped out. I think I would have thought that maybe by 25 I would have gotten married, and then a year or 2 later had a baby. But then my life took this crazy turn from 3LW to then joining the Cheetah Girls, from the Cheetah Girls then becoming a host on The Real, and that going for almost 10 years.
Right.
The reality is I got married at 33, and even when we started planning for having a baby, I knew for a fact that I wanted to be married for a year before I had children. I wanted to enjoy, the guilt-free sex in different countries.
Yes. In different area
what comes back
codes.
to sex with Adrienne?
Yeah, I really wanted to enjoy that, and everyone told me enjoy that married bliss and have fun, and so that's what we did. And then I was like, it's been a year, let's start trying. Now this is crazy. My husband has children already from his previous marriage, and I was like, but I want a first. I don't know why. I kind of have always had this idea of I want to share a first, and we were like, do we want twins?
Oh
Twins
my gosh.
sounds fun. You never had twins
Oh
before?
my gosh.
You have
I'm gonna be-
daughters,
yeah,
you have
I'm gonna-
sons.
I think we all like that first. Yeah.
I'm about to give you
Yeah.
twins.
Yes. Yeah.
Boom. So we thought we would start our journey from the get-go with IVF, which sounded very glamorous to us. It sounded like, okay, Mariah Carey, twins, maybe
Right.
J-Lo, maybe, I don't know if these people have done IVF,
Yeah.
but it just seemed like something
You
that
just go in, get what you want. It's
pick the sex.
yes.
It was a whole lie, okay? I
Mhm.
walked in there, and my first meeting was actually with Andy Wong, and I ended up finding out, girl, you have no eggs.
Oh
we
my
need to get on
gosh.
this way sooner than we imagined. And that's really where the whole journey started from there. I was 33, about to be 34, and a year into my marriage, and I found out
That's
this is not
devastating.
going to be
You
easy.
didn't-
Yeah.
Well, the no eggs thing, because you froze your eggs,
I did
right?
freeze
So,
my eggs.
as someone who's kind of, I'm on the outside looking
Mhm.
into this, even with the freezing, is this still a similar thing that you would have to go through?
What age did you freeze your eggs?
39. And I got so many eggs. Had 35 eggs in the freezer.
That is the norm. That is the norm. I was 33 years old and I've done IVF 8 times and the most embryos I ever got was 3.
Wow.
So that's definitely a me thing. I mean, this has been a 6-year journey. It was a 6-year journey for me. And in those 6 years, I ended up finding out that I actually, if I was an IVF baby, which when they create embryos, they normally put them through genetic testing and they grade them. I would have been an embryo that would have been discarded. Because I don't have all of my chromosomes.
Wow.
During my, when I was doing the egg freezing, you learn so much about like your body. Like they're like, you know, before you were told like, oh, you have all these eggs and then like you lose some. And then they were like, well, no, there's a certain amount that, like, I just learned a lot of different things I didn't know
Put
about.
them in the freezer and then when you take them out, some of them die.
Yes. The day London has a child, if she ever decides she wants to be a mom, do you know that the egg that creates her baby was technically in your body? Because we are born with all of our eggs.
I did hear this. I mean, I did read about this.
Wild?
That's very wild.
It is.
Yeah,
so crazy.
she's born with all of her eggs, and when you gave birth to her, they were at some point in your body. So half of your grandchild was already inside of your body.
Isn't it nuts? It kind of makes sense, like why genes are so strong, or why so looks like so and so's mother, or something like that.
It's wild.
It is a very wild thing to go through.
So you were able to get 3 embryos, though. That's still good.
So I ended up getting after 8. I'm
So
talking
8
about
rounds.
shooting 8 rounds of IVF.
Well, I know you had to be discouraged and you kind of decided to take breaks.
for sure.
How long does one round take?
14 days is usually what it is. So a lot of people like until you got your egg retrieval, how many days were you on shots? 10? You had a lot of eggs.
Yeah, I had a lot. So they took me 2 days. They took me off 2 days earlier.
See, I always stay 2 days later. Usually the average I think is 12 days. You ended up going in at 10 days. I would end up going the full 14 days because what happens is my body was never responding to the stimulation of these hormones. These hormones, you inject yourself, they stimulate your ovaries to create way more eggs, and then they go in for retrievals. My first one, I ended up going the full 14 days, and then I ended up retrieving, get this, 6 eggs.
Okay.
How many did you retrieve?
35.
6, 35.
We have a friend who, didn't she get like 2?
1.
Oh, yeah.
And they told her from the beginning she was going to have a hard time. And then 2 years later, she had a baby naturally. Didn't even use that 1 egg.
See, I'm still hopeful. I joke that I am either the most like out of my mind person or I'm just super hopeful. Like it goes either way.
Super hopeful is the way to go.
I think being optimistic is great.
Yeah, I still believe that. I'm like, maybe I'll get pregnant naturally. I still dream of like maternity photo shoots. I ended up having a surrogate, but I did in some sense feel.
Did you still have your other embryo?
No, so I ended up, after the 6 years of trying, they literally just kept telling me, you're just getting older and older literally every month and every cycle.
Jeez.
So you want to keep.
They say 1 year, you drop off significantly.
I mean, but that's
It's insane.
It's like so discouraging.
I know,
Very,
but that's what they do. They tell you this. I mean, literally, like, it's a thing. Like, yeah, next year you're going to be this a year older. It's going to be drastic decrease.
But come on, like you're already going through so much. You're on hormones. You're
wild.
Emotional.
Mm-hmm.
Like how can doctors say these kinds of things? I get it. I understand that it's a very realistic thing that they want you to understand. But to me, it's you went 8 rounds of this. So
that wasn't even the worst of it. I'm talking like I then had what's called failed cycles, which means that you are shooting yourself up, and around like the 9th or 10th day, they end up telling you, we're canceling your retrieval because there's nothing to go in and retrieve.
Oh.
So you're literally doing all these shots, and on the 10th day of the shots, they're like, it's a canceled cycle. So I had 3 of those. Then, so I was just doing this for years at a time, like just trying to, what they were saying was just like trying to get as many embryos as possible as soon as I could. Make as many embryos so that we can, when I got them implanted, you either can implant multiples for a higher chance of it sticking.
Right.
The most I got was my 3.
Did you do all 3?
No. So I go to implant the first embryo, which another thing I didn't know, you cannot choose the sex. Did you know that?
I thought
you could do gender selection.
No.
Like,
okay.
like you have 2 boys and 1 girl. You could be like, let's use that one.
That you can do.
Oh, okay.
But you can't make
yeah.
embryos a certain sex. They end up what they're going to be. So if I got all 3 boys, I can't pick a girl. I can't change one into a boy. Like you get to only pick from what you have. So what I ended up getting was 2 girls and 1 boy.
Okay.
So I wanted a girl. which now looking back, it's so weird because I'm like, how dumb how like ignorant of me to be like stuck on the idea of like a sex and I wanted a little girl. I had her name chosen. It was a whole thing. And so I implant my first baby girl. I end up getting pregnant, but I ended up miscarrying at almost 4 months.
Oh, wow.
So I was doing Masked Singer, and when they revealed my thing, Nick Cannon comes out.
I remember that.
And I ended up revealing that I was pregnant. I did a pregnancy announcement and ended up having to call Fox and like beg them to please re-edit the finale. Like, I need you to re-edit the finale. I'm not pregnant anymore. Like, it was devastating.
That's devastating.
That was a lot, like years, and then to deal with it because you don't even know like things gonna take, and then it takes, and you're like, oh, especially after 3 months, you're like, I'm good.
You think that you're in the clear.
I was so freaking happy. I'm talking like the best bliss of my life, and then it was traumatizing. And it's weird because there were so many people praying with me and hoping for me and hoping with me.
Yeah.
That I was embarrassed. You know, because you don't feel like you're only disappointing yourself in your own struggles and your own embarrassment and your own like heartache. But then it's like
other people.
I have to tell people now. I have to call people. I have to tell my co-hosts. I have to tell my bosses.
Right.
I have to. It was really bad. And so I took a moment there and I was like, okay, I'm gonna wait. And then I one day woke up and I was like, I want to try again. I want to implant the other girl. Like, let's go for it. Implanted the second little girl. It did not take.
Okay. How long until you know if it took or not?
11 days.
Oh, God, that's agony.
So you're waiting 11 days. You can take like pregnancy tests. They tell you not to because they can be false. So you have to.
Right.
I never did. I never took a. I literally was always like, I'm going in for my blood work. I'm so excited. And the second one did not take. And it's weird because I knew it.
Sometimes you know.
It's the weirdest
you have
thing.
to know your body. Like when you're in tune.
It was so weird. I just knew it. And I remember sitting on the sofa and waiting for the call and just being like I know. Like I know it's not. And so at this point, I now was like, let me try another round of IVF. So stupid. I still had this little boy. My boy was in the freezer since 2017. He was in the freezer for 5 years.
It's because you so badly were just at that time wanted this girl.
Isn't that so, like, it's really stupid and ignorant. I feel terrible even saying it.
We learned through our mistakes.
And because it was such a journey for you to, be like a mom, and then you were like, I'm going to go through IVF and all of that. It's like you were just like, let me get what I want at the end. You know what I mean? So the anticipation, I can see how that could like really take over.
I ended up having a doctor literally I thought I was having a nervous breakdown in this man's office side because he literally told me, he's like, you don't have any eggs. Like, we're trying, we keep getting canceled cycles where there's nothing for us to retrieve. Would you ever consider an egg donor? And it wasn't the idea, I don't even know how to explain this. It was also how he was saying it to me. And it feeling like the biggest failure of my life was like, you should get an egg donor, and kind of telling it to me like, well, we could find someone that looks like you. She could be short like you. We could find someone with curly hair. We can, and he's like, when she's walking across that stage as a college graduate, you're not going to be thinking that she's not genetically yours.
That's so crazy.
And I was in that office like, sir, you are like ripping my dreams apart. Like, because I had this idea in my mind of imagining seeing like my sister, my husband, my mother in this child's eyes. Like there's, I don't know. And that for me was the hardest. And at that point, I was like, oh, shoot, I probably won't ever make another embryo. And I have this little boy in there. Andy Wong had suggested to me, would you consider surrogacy? And because of being told, is egg donor an option? I don't know. It just hit me in a different way. And I was like, oh my gosh, I should consider a surrogate. And I should, if I'm going to have this last little embryo, my little boy, don't put him in my body because it's not working.
Did they say why it wasn't really taking in you? Like once it was implanted, did they say why?
So funny enough, through all these years of finding out I don't have a lot of chromosomes, I'm actually a carrier of a, wow, my brain. This is called mom brain, even though I didn't give birth.
I have mom brain.
It is, I have a syndrome that pretty much makes my uterus like a 5-year-old. And so every time I did an implantation, I'd end up having to do multiple preparations for it because my lining would never get thick enough. My uterus lining would never get thick enough. So they think that's part of the reason, which there is things I can do.
That's a very common thing when people are having miscarriages, right? Like the lining not
thick enough. Yeah. And so I was doing my progesterone shots and like all these things, but I just didn't have a thick enough lining to hold the pregnancy. So there was that. And imagine now I'm like, okay, so I have this one little boy left. Now I become obsessed with seeing moms and their boys, including you and Rio. And I remember following
and boys are,
Desi Perkins was a person I followed on Instagram, and she had a son. And like, I just became obsessed with this idea. Like, I have my little boy, like I can give him a chance in a uterus that has been proven to work. Like, and it was hard, but it's so weird. I look at him every single day and I'm just like, I'm so grateful. I don't care how you got here. I don't care that I pulled you out of somebody else's vagina, which in itself is the most wild.
Did you actually do that?
I want to know about this.
Yes.
Like, I'm so intrigued by surrogacy for the simple fact that I'm just...
Were you
is the bond, like, what is that?
Were you there with
like?
the mom too? Like the surrogate? Like, were you like, hey, let's go to lunch? Or what are you eating? Like, I know you had chips and soda last week. Like, what
Crazy enough, I ordered every single one of her meals.
Oh, really?
And it became a bonding moment for us. So imagine me filming the reel. No one there knows that I'm going through, like, no, I literally didn't tell anyone.
Especially after that traumatic experience that you had.
Exactly. So I'm literally like, I'm not telling anyone. I am in my room, like every day I'd hit her and be like, What are you craving? What do you want to eat? And I had the dopest surrogate. Like, we're still super close to this day.
How did you even meet her?
So
they hook it. They like.
I know. I just am so intrigued by this whole thing. It's
did
amazing.
not know anyone who had ever had a like. This is not common. I remember my mom even, as like old school Puerto Rican
and a very Latin, especially Hispanic
my mom was
cultures.
Against me,
like, it's not. This is not normal.
Eggs. She was like, what would you freeze eggs? And she was like, and also I wasn't married too. So she was like, well, you plan on having kids later and not be married. Like, it was a lot. But she was like, it's like, don't mess with stuff like that. Like, if it happens naturally, okay, but not.
It's a cultural thing.
It's a cultural thing. I think as Latinas, we're viewed as that if you look at us, we're going to get pregnant. I have wide hips. I've always been told that, like, you're going to get pregnant, you're going to get pregnant, you're going to get pregnant.
It's true. That's what they say about Latinas.
And for my mom, it was super easy to get pregnant. And my sister, it was just, so they couldn't even wrap their minds around my journey. And it was hard because they wanted it so badly for me. But at the same time, they'd be like, you just got to pray. And like, that was hurtful to me. And we've had those conversations now. My mom saying something like the first time I told her that surrogacy was an option, she literally looked at me and was like, why would you want someone else to carry your baby? But in like disgust. Currently, my mom is home holding that baby boy, and she's obsessed with him. And she tells me that I can tell that story because it's a learning moment for, I think, other people and culturally, just to be open-minded.
Right.
And so I was against it because for me, it was like, is this going to give like threesome vibes? Like, you're robbing me of my experience. Like, every time I'm going to ask, like, I also felt like, I mourned the idea of like my husband seeing me in my bump and my pregnant. I was thinking about the fact that I wouldn't have these orgasms I heard about that people have when they're pregnant.
Amazing.
Hitting it from the back with my belly.
Everyone says that.
It is juicy and wonderful.
I wanted that experience. Damn, Sai, why you gotta do that?
Experience. She was like, it's already on this level. Like,
yes,
this is another element.
My husband wanted to see my breasts just like get out of control. But like, we talked about this. I wanted. So there were all these things that I'm like, dang, like she's gonna experience that. And that's very real. And you mourn that idea and then you just move on. Like, you have no choice. Like, I had no choice but to be like, okay, that was what I thought it was gonna be, but I'm gonna find a way to make this just as beautiful. And so
that's big to be able to come out of that. 'Cause that's what I think that fucks us up a lot, is always thinking about, I need to have a girl. I need to carry my own baby. I need to have this. I need to get married by this age. I need to do all these things that we put on ourselves, the pressure of this, how we picture it to be. And it's like, life doesn't,
life just throws you curve like balls. It's harder than we thought.
Yeah, it is harder than we thought. Getting pregnant for me was harder than I thought. And I think there is this saying that says, what hurts us the most in life is the idea of how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I say that with air quotes because every step in our life, we're like, oh, it's supposed to be like this. Marriage is supposed to be like this. Motherhood is supposed to, working mom life is supposed to, and none of it is that way. So you almost have to find beauty in your own journey.
Wherever, and I think
I've literally started doing that. So I'm really grateful because I had a surrogate that from the get-go was so easy to talk to on the phone. I'm very private and personal with things like this, especially, I don't know how to say this the right way, but I hate the idea of victim mentality. And anytime that I feel like a victim, I get embarrassed. Like, if I'm going through a hard time, I'm not the one that picks up a phone and talks to all my girlfriends about it. I isolate. And so I hated the idea that this girl was going to be a part of one of the most vulnerable moments of my life.
Right.
And I have to open up to her, and she's a stranger. And how do I tell her that I want this so bad? Because they actually make you write a letter.
Oh,
So
to her.
I'll tell you how the whole story. I didn't know anybody who had a surrogate. The only person I knew was Kim Kardashian. So I hit Kim and I'm like, Kim, I'm being told that this is, something I really should look into. Can you give me some pointers? And she was freaking amazing. And
Oh, that's great.
Oh, like so dope. Like you'd be thinking to yourself, like this woman is running multiple empires. The quickest response on text, like just there for me. And she introduced me to Andy Vorsimer, who is the most incredible surrogate lawyer, which is a really big part of surrogacy. You don't think about it, but it is there's a very big legal side to this.
I mean, it's so
journey.
Yeah, this
mental,
process of,
right?
like,
It's another woman carrying a child. How if she changes her mind?
There's
Changing
so
their
many.
mind, the contact you have after, like it's a lot.
It's a lot.
And I had no idea about that. So I was so grateful that she gave me the heads up. She introduced me to him and he walked me through every step, introduced me to the woman that was actually going to help me find the right surrogate for me. So there's different agencies and they end up sending you like bios and you get to see portfolios, or like it's a profile.
Wow.
Yeah. And you get
It's
to
just
see.
like a PDF.
So
Like a
imagine
picture and everything.
It's got pictures of not just them, but their family, that they're married, how many children do they have. Do you know that you can't be a surrogate if you haven't already had a child?
Yes. Well, my friend's a surrogacy attorney too. And so she used to tell me some of these things. And I'm like, I had no idea because it's like, that's like ends up being the surrogate's first child. So that you don't want to be in a situation where, people then run off.
It's mental.
I could see that.
They also want to make sure that you have proven that you can carry a child to full term, that you have that you hold
medical reason.
press. Yeah. So I not only wanted someone that had one surrogacy, I was wild about this. I ended up having a woman that had done this twice before. So she had her own 2 children and then she had carried 2 other children for someone else. So she really understood.
She likes to carry and to give.
She loves. She's
what I'm
Hawaiian. She is like earthy and believes that like God has allowed her body to be like, she's an angel. As far as I'm concerned, she is an angel. Made this process so easy for me. From the moment talking to her on the phone, we're both hysterical crying on the call. She read my profile and I read her profile and they matched us. And I liked her. She liked then she has to approve it as well. It's not just one-sided. I think a lot of people think that like, this is like, oh, I pick you, you carry. No, she has to choose that.
I'm glad you brought that
She
up.
wants to carry a child for this couple. She wants to ask them, why do you guys want this? Is it for vanity reasons? Is it, she wants to know that like, wow, they've gone through every other alternative and this is their last option and they really want a child. So they it was the pandemic. We would have met in person, but we ended up doing a Zoom.
Zooms.
And I'm bawling my eyes out on the call because she's just telling me how grateful she is that she would be able to do this. I mean, it was beautiful. And then from there,
amazing.
I would order her food. Like that was a thing. We bonded over the food. I talked to her every single day. She'd send me photos, her bump girl. I mean, I gave her injections before she got implanted.
Oh, wow.
And I'm sitting there when she's getting implanted, which I've already gone through what she's doing twice before with the 2 other embryos. So I'm holding her hand. I am not this person. I don't know what comes over you in these moments.
It's emotion.
I'm not a touchy-feely person. Like, I'm not going to walk up to a stranger.
Instinct was kicking in like you were about to start this journey of motherhood again.
I was rubbing this woman's feet.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
That's that Christian man. That's that freak that she's just like, it just is in me.
Listen, I was crying. I was rubbing her toes. She asked, and this is the crazy thing. She was very much like, this is your moment. Like, this is your baby. Like this is about you.
She made you a part of it.
The nurse took a sonogram of when they put the baby in and like you can almost see like usually there's a little flash when they implant it and they went to hand her the picture and she said, oh no, these are not mine. This is her baby. Like it was always like, this is her moment. She gets to pick the song that plays. She gets to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So even when I would call her to be like, what are you craving? What are you eating? She would tell me, what are you craving?
Really? She's so selfless.
She made you selfless.
Because I would have been like
an angel.
Can you give me a burger?
When I tell you, exactly, she's unbelievable. But I do believe that Well, I think we hear so many stories of people that are like, I just want to do it for a quick buck, or I just want to, or, they don't have options. And so they're using their bodies to whatever. And I think that there are some really hard situations. There are people who really believe that this is their calling in life, this is their purpose, and they find such fulfillment in creating families for women. And so I recognize that in my surrogate. She's actually now even an advocate for other surrogates to make sure they're treated well, to make sure.
Sounds fantastic.
She's fantastic. And on my son's first birthday, we timed it right. He was born at 3:15 in Lake Tahoe. And I remember calling her and getting her on the phone like, we're 5 minutes away. I wore my same outfit that I wore. I did my hair. I was being weird. Wore my hair in the same way I wore it. And I literally FaceTimed her and we counted down the seconds, 10, 9, 8. He was born at 3:15. She's on FaceTime. We were all bawling our eyes out. It was beautiful. And I'm so grateful that she's still in our life. I'll cry right now. But she's still in our life. I love her. I love her children. She's so dope. Yeah.
That's good.
We love your story.
Congratulations.
I know, you're going to make me cry. I'm not even a crier.
It was beautiful.
The New Yorkers are crying in here.
It was a beautiful experience.
Really sweet.
And if I get the chance to be a mom again, I would be overjoyed. But at the same time, I feel like I prayed so long for this one little baby boy. I don't want to be like, I got what I prayed for, on to the next. Like I am basking in every second with him. And if that's what I get to have, oh my God, I'd be so grateful.
Yeah.
But if not, he's more than enough for me.
I love to hear that.
Yeah.
More than enough.
Yes.
It's just more than enough.
I get to be a mom. Like
You're
I get to.
The ultimate guest, like the ultimate first guest.
I know.
We
You
can't
guys.
top this. This conversation was fantastic. To be honest, I feel like we can talk forever, but we got flagged over here.
We really could. But I love chatting with you guys.
One thing I do want to talk about too is, you have like being a wife, right? Is a job in itself, right?
Yeah.
Like making sure you're taking care of the home, making sure you're taking care of your husband, and then your mom. I mean, again, another job in itself. And then you have a full-time job being on, TV, and you're also picking up like hostings, here as well. So how do you prioritize you? Like, how do you focus on you? Like, is it a wellness routine you have, or are you just like, I find time just to be with my family, and that's still prioritizing to me? Like, how do you put you first?
I think that the honest truth is I don't put myself first at this moment in my life. I'm in the first year of my son's life, and I think it's really hard, and it's hard to juggle it all. But crazy enough, my me time is spending time with my son because it is what makes me really, really happy. And then there are moments when I'm just freaking exhausted. And I'm grateful for a village. I have a mom that's right now with my son, but there are things that I have to say no to and not be afraid to say no on the work side. I think especially being in this industry since I was literally 14, 15 years old, there's this idea that like I have to constantly work. And
I have that.
Crazy enough, this year is the first time that I'm like, I'm going to say no to jobs. I'm going to say, I can't do that. This is my weekend that I'm going to be with my son. Or I'm going to let my husband take the baby for the day, and I'm going to take a long shower. I'm going to sleep all day and lay in bed and watch Real Housewives of New York. Like that for me is my me time, and it takes balance. But I think there's a part of my head that still has poor people mentality that's like, if I don't take this job, then maybe I'll never get a chance to be on TV again. Well, then maybe I'll never get another opportunity. And I just this year am starting to tell myself, you've worked really hard already. God's not going to let that happen. Like, I really do believe that, my faith is a big part of my life. And I really do believe that everything is ordained and exactly how it's supposed to be. And I've done my part. I don't think I'm going to get the big slap in the face of like, you'll never work again. And even if I didn't work again, the time that I'm taking to be a mom for my son is more valuable to me than any job.
Right.
That's good, because I think that what happens with women when they're working, you do always feel like you can't miss, especially when you're an entrepreneur, right? You work for yourself. So what you are your brand, you are your business.
Yeah.
But always feeling like you have to keep going, because if you do take a break, you may not get calls anymore. People may, like forget about you, things like that. For me, I have my own firm, and it's the same way of, friends tell me too, like you can't work as hard, like you have to find time for you and, find time to like go on vacation and not work. But I'm like, yeah, but I have these clients I have to answer to, and it's a referral-based business, so then like they give me clients, and that's how I keep things going.
Yeah.
But you do have to reach a point, especially when you are a mom and you're a wife and you're thinking about yourself. It's like, at what point do I say like, at what point do I not worry about that next call and just realize what I have now?
Yes.
And just appreciate it and be okay with saying no.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is like very hard for women in
it's hard.
business.
Definitely hard.
And it's scary.
Mhm.
It's a very scary
Because
thing.
it's very competitive. You think to yourself, there's someone just waiting to take my job.
Yeah.
There is somebody who would be so grateful to have this job that I have, and yet I'm trying to and you have to find peace with that. I think that there's certain parts in your life where you're like, you know what? I'm at peace with just putting my child first, putting my family first. And that's kind of where I'm at right now.
That's beautiful. That's such a great space to be in. Like
Yeah.
such a blessing to be in that space and to recognize it. Like,
it's not easy.
Yeah.
I think that
It's
comes
not
with
easy.
growing, right? That's
Yeah.
your journey. That's your growth in life. I
Yeah.
think if you were any younger, it probably would have been a lot harder. I think
So
there
much
was
harder.
a reason that you've had a child at this stage in your life,
Yeah.
because trying to do what you do, as well as being a present mom and putting that priority of having your son, by you is definitely something that comes a lot later in life. And
For sure.
I relate to you so much as having that poor mentality too. Like, I have children, but at the same time, I'm also like, I can't turn down this job.
And you want to give them everything you never had.
You want to give them everything.
Mm-hmm.
Ballet lessons? Yeah, I always wanted to do ballet. You want to do gymnastics too? Maybe we could do gymnastics. You want to do soccer? You want to do basketball? Like, you pour your heart and soul of everything that you did not have growing up into these children that you see now. So work for me, like having a career really defines who I am, because I didn't come from anything.
Yeah.
So being able to, at the end of the day, and I said this to Angela before, I just want my kids to look at me and be a mom they're proud of.
Yeah.
I want to be, they're like, damn, look at my mom. Look at her working.
But you've done it. You've done it. And if at some point in the next few years where you're like, I've established myself, like people know who I am, they know what I've done, and my kids have seen me bust my ass, that then if you wanted to, you could take a second and be like, I'm
Yeah.
going to say no to Paris Fashion Week.
Which
I'm
was
gonna
so
say-
hard.
That's
That was really difficult.
yeah, but you're
it's true.
choosing maybe something else, maybe another way of establishing yourself, another, resource. But I just think it's hard, but we have to do it because it matters and it makes a difference
matters.
in these children's lives, to be present parents. And it's hard.
It does matter.
Hard
What-
decisions.
What is one thing that through your journey so far
Mhm.
you realized is a lot harder than you thought?
Crazy enough, I think the idea of walking away from this industry is harder than we think.
Mm-hmm.
I think that people think like, oh, you can just end it. And it doesn't work. Like I always joke with everybody that if I could tomorrow just be really, really rich and like never be seen again, I would do that.
I say that all the time.
She just said this the other
I
day.
say that all
People don't
the
believe that's true.
time.
They think we're lying when we say that. They
I
think,
am-
oh, you love being seen. You
No,
love getting
I'm dead
dressed.
ass. If you just give me the coin,
Yo, send me.
I can walk away. I am great.
But the reality is, this is how I make my money. This is how I
Exactly.
support my family. This is how I am able to put a roof over my house and have ahead and have like these amazing experiences, take my family on vacation. Back then when I was 15 and hungry and like wanting to be in this so bad, I never would have thought that I'd be at 40 years old going, can somebody please help me get out of this? How do I
That's the exit plan.
What's the exit plan? You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And I don't think people think that 10 steps ahead. You like I can't even delete my Instagram.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yo, Instagram is harder than I thought. Yo, editing reels is harder
It
than I
is.
thought.
It's hard.
Yo, my husband, yesterday I filmed like myself doing my makeup, right? He took the baby to feed him. I said, I just need like a solid hour to edit this video. I swear to God, I need like 6 more hours to edit it. I swear it is harder than I thought. It is harder
I'm
than I
always stressed
thought.
out. I was up at 5:00 this morning editing some campaign video.
It's hard.
People don't get
Yeah.
it. They think it's a very easy job.
I don't
but
know
it's,
what they think this is.
It's hard. This is such a great conversation.
Thank you so
Adrienne,
much for
thank
joining
you so
us.
much. You're amazing. You're a really great friend too. And hopefully we can go out and have some drinks and some food after
Yes.
this too.
We got to hang in New York.
Well, I would love that. Okay.
So if you have any comments or questions about this episode, specifically for Adrienne as well, feel free to hit us up on our socials and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Harder Than We Thought. You can catch us every Monday with episodes that will help you get through your week.
Please don't forget to subscribe and make sure you leave a review because we would love to hear from you. You can also follow us on social at Harder Than We Thought.